President Council Cahill.
Present.
President Council Capano.
Present.
President Council Calucci.
Present.
President Council Creighton.
Present.
President Council Seer. President Council Ford.
Present.
President Council Lozey.
Present.
President Council Net. President Council Phelan.
Present.
President Council Trahan. Absent. 10 present.
Can we all please rise for a moment of silence?
Mr. President, our special prayer for the Brown family. Tommy Brown was buried today.
Thank you, Council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd just like to state for the record, I received a phone call from Councilor Trahan this evening. Got an unexpected family commitment. He's unable to be here. He is going to try to get here before the end of the meeting, but I indicated I would express that on the record.
Communications, we have communication from our Honor the Mayor. Dear Councilors, I'm hereby appointing the individuals listed below to the Off-Street Parking Commission to replace expired members Robert Connaught and Richard Downey respectively. Ms. Jane Kelly, 103 Euclid Avenue, set to expire August 28, 2016. And Mr. Corey Jackson, 589 Essex Street, Unit 405, set to expire August 28, 2014. Sincerely, Judith Flanagan, Kennedy, Mayor.
Motion made. Seconded. Discussion. Council Cahill.
Mr. President, thank you. I'd just like to suggest we send a letter of appreciation to the members who have served in the Off-Street Parking Commission from the City Council. And I'd like to also thank the Mayor for her leadership on injecting new perspectives into the board.
Thank you. What we'll do is we'll just roll call on this, and then we can put that in the form of a motion if you'd like, Councilor.
Thank you.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes. Council Capano?
Yes.
Yes. Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Council Creighton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes. Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey? Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes. Council Trahan, absent, 10 yes.
And motion to send the letter, as Councilor Cahill indicated. Do I hear a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Councilor.
We have another communication, dear councilors. I am hereby reappointing Mr. William Samad, 28 Clarendon Ave, to the Off-Street Parking Commission. His term is effective immediately and will expire on August 28, 2013. Sincerely, Judith Flanagan, Kennedy, Mayor.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes. Council Capano? Yes. Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Council Creighton? Yes. Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes. Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes. Council Trahan, absent, 10 yes. Another communication, dear councilors, I'm hereby reappointing Mr. Walter Guptill, 11 Brookline Terrace, to the Lynn Municipal Finance Corporation. Mr. Guptill's term is effective immediately and will expire on July 12, 2014. Sincerely, Judith Flanagan, Kennedy, Mayor.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes. Council Capano?
Yes.
Yes. Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Council Creighton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes. Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes. Council Trahan, absent, 10 yes. We have another communication, dear councilors, I'm hereby reappointing the individuals listed below to the Lynn Municipal Finance Corporation. Their terms are effective immediately and will expire on September 1st, 2015. Peter Deary, 29 Priscilla Way, Brian DeVoe, 141 Edgemere Road, Ian Mannion, 408 Broadway, number 115. Sincerely, Judith Flanagan, Kennedy, Mayor.
What's the wish of the council? Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes. Council Capano?
Yes.
Yes. Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Council Creighton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes. Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes. Council Trahan, absent, 10 yes. And we have one final communication, dear councilors, I'm hereby reappointing Ms. Paula Mackin, 57 Woodlawn Street, to the Lynn Municipal Finance Corporation. Ms. Mackin's term is effective immediately and will expire July 12, 2014. Sincerely, Judith Flanagan, Kennedy, Mayor.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes, Council Capano?
Yes.
Yes, Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes, Council Creighton?
Yes.
Yes, Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes, Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes, Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes, Council Net?
Yes.
Yes, Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes, Council Trahan, absent 10 yes. We have no unfinished business. Committee reports. Ordinance.
Council Seer?
License committee was unanimous by committee, make motion approved.
Ordinance first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't see that on there. Unanimous by the committee, make a motion to approve.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now,
Motion
there is a
carries.
motion to set down a public hearing on a proposed ordinance. No, I just went to the two
Okay.
ordinance, okay. License committee,
Council Seer?
Thank you. Unanimous by committee, make a motion approved.
Motion to accept the report.
Motion to accept the
Do I hear a second? Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
and public property committee, there was a motion to put 38 Rockaway Street out to bid to abutters only with stipulation bids be open and awarded by February 14th if bids are acceptable, and a motion to set down a public hearing for an abandonment of a portion of Saunders Road.
Council Calucci? Unanimous vote?
Yes.
Take that in the form of a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes, Council Capano? Yes, Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes, Council Creighton? Yes, Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes, Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes, Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes, Council Net?
Yes.
Yes, Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes, Council Trahan, absent 10 yes.
Council Lozey, did you have something on the unfinished business?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take off the table the permit for, I think it's 263 Western Ave. Madam Clerk, if,
263 is correct.
Take that in the form of a motion to remove from the table. Do I hear a second? Discussion. Excuse me. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes, Council Capano? Yes, Council Calucci? Yes, Council Creighton? Yes, Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes, Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes, Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes, Council Net?
Yes.
Yes, Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes, Council Trahan, absent 10 yes.
Council Lozey.
Mr. President, we had a neighborhood meeting, both Councilor Trahan and I, and the the applicant presented his wish to convert into 3 apartments, the building on that corner, and it seems that it's a good idea. We like to see the improvements that he's going to bring to that neighborhood, so I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes, Council Capano? Yes, Council Calucci? Yes, Council Creighton? Yes, Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes, Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes, Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes, Council Net?
Yes.
Yes, Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes, Council Trahan, absent 10 yes.
New business?
2 items under business. Discussion and update from Parking Director Jay Fenton and the members of the Off-Street Parking Commission.
I believe this was a request of Council Cahill. Or Council Creighton.
Yeah, I think the council essentially wanted Mr. Fenton to come back and update us on any progress with the off-street parking commission, the parking lots either in downtown or whatever, just a kind of a general update. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Fenton to the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Fenton.
Both the former chairman and vice chairman are planning on being here to address the issue on behalf of the off-street parking commission. What I can do in the interim is just tell you what happened at their last meeting. And in fairness to the new appointees, 3 of them haven't even been at a meeting. We need to meet, to appoint a new chairman and a new vice chairman. And so there's a slight interruption in the process of moving forward. But what happened at its last meeting was that they took up the issue of the improvements in the lots, and they voted to move ahead with the Wyoming Square lot I believe they had an estimate of about $430,000, don't hold it right to the dollar amount, which would include all the improvements and any of the technology that would go in there. And the vote was to use the monies that off-street parking has, which is $230-some-odd thousand, to seek alternate additional funding, either through a grant or other funding source, the vote was subject to the contracting process and also to have the revenues turned over to off-street, because they felt that making that significant investment and a lot to approve it, if there's no money to maintain it, that it wouldn't be a wise thing to do. They also felt that, and to be honest with you, I feel a little bit uncomfortable talking about them because they're not here, but they also felt that they could use those revenues and make the Wyoming Square lot the first lot in a series of improvements to additional lots. And they would have some means of doing that, because as you know, that the revenues from the off-street lots are not being retained by the off-street parking commission.
Could you just go over some of the improvements, whether it be the automation or what the Wyoming project consists of?
I don't have the specific plans with me, but they were going to do significant groundwork, if you will. They were going to maintain, and by the way, these plans aren't the absolute final, but we needed to get a firm price to have some idea of what it would entail. So they're going to do significant groundwork. The entrance was going to be maintained at its present location, and they were going to do a great deal of fill, put a wall in, and the exit was planned to come down by the Little League ballpark on the first baseline, and the exit would be out onto Broadway. But at that point, currently, there's only one way in and one way out, and that would change to an entrance only. There was lighting involved. The technology has not, a decision of the best technology to use was not decided, but it's probably going to be, there was talk at one point of putting meters in, but there's other technology out there that I think would suit the purpose much better than meters and be very effective and less costly. So, in a nutshell.
That's very helpful. I don't want to dominate the discussions with any of the councils. Questions?
Council Cahill. Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Fenn. Fenn, thank you for being here this evening. We always look forward to you being here. I'm very excited about the makeup of the new board. I'm very excited about the opportunities that you have. I promised my New Year's resolution is to be a kinder, more gentler council at large, and I promise you will find that.
I'm going to write that down.
2013. No, I think this is a great opportunity for the city of Lynn. I think we have some real dynamic individuals on that board now from different perspectives throughout the entire city. They're eager and ready to go and tackle some of the issues. So I think this is a great day for the city of Lynn. I'm really excited with some of the amazing things you guys are going to accomplish. And it's going to be great for economic development in the downtown, for residents in the downtown. So I think this is really a new birth, a new beginning. I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you for being here again. And I look forward to many more positive updates from you. So I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to add on to Councilor Cahill's point, I think periodically having you or other members of the commission come before the council, not to be grilled or really questioned on the issues, but to get these updates so we all know what's going on with the system. I think the one square update is very helpful, so I appreciate you coming tonight.
Any other questions? I do have one question through the chair, if I can. I think there are many people, as you and I have discussed in the past, in favor of the renovation of that parking lot in Wyoming Square. Has anybody identified a funding source to make up the difference between the 237 and the 430?
Not at this point. We talked about looking into something that we've never done before, which is to see if there's any grant money that might be available. Rockton did a lot, did get some grant money, but no other sources have been specifically identified. And working with the mayor's office to see if there might be something.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Fenton.
Thank you.
Anything further, Council Craig?
No,
Thank you.
The second item under new business, a presentation of the city's grant writer, Donald Arthur.
Good evening. I'm Donald Arthur. I'm your grant writer. And first of all, I'd like to say this is a terrific job because I am basically a policy wonk, and this job has allowed me to get professionally involved in depth in an incredible range of city agencies and operations. As you know, I began work here March 28th. Since that time, I've looked into funding opportunities totaling around $20 million. I've worked in one form or another on applications for grants totaling about $11 million. I've submitted applications with budgets totaling about submitted or and working on applications with budgets of around $2.5 million. Of these, we have received so far approvals of $185,000 in 2 grants, including grant funds of $120,000. What I thought I'd do is let you know what my basic modus operandi is. What I do is I go onto grants.gov, which is the website that lists all funding opportunities available through the federal government. I look at that every week, and what I look for is I look for things that might have some application to the city of Lynn. And lots of things, like most of the National Institute of Health things, we're not interested in. If I find something that looks like it has some relevance, I will call up the agency head or the department head and say, would you be interested in working on this project? And there are 3 answers that they would give me. One is yes, the other is no, the other is yes, but we'll take care of it ourselves. And so, that being the case, I proceed. If the answer is yes, and they'd like me to work on it, I will research the issue thoroughly. I will review applications that have been funded in the past. I will review the application guidelines. I will try to see to what extent what they've funded reflects the application guidelines. In what cases, sometimes the application guidelines are more restrictive than what they actually fund, and I'll try to see what the implication is for us. And then I will try to figure out how to put together a package that bridges the gap between what we need the money for and what the agency seems interested in funding. And sometimes that gap is small and it's not a problem, sometimes the gap is large. And sometimes it takes a certain amount of creativity to express our needs in a way that reflects the funding agency's priorities. Because they have no interest whatsoever in our needs. They're interested in their priorities. And so the fact that we may want to do something or have a tremendous opportunity is really not of great interest to the funding agency. They have an agenda, and if you want to get the money, you have to go and understand their agenda and express yourself in those terms. The grant world, the federal grant competitive. For example, we did get this one grant for this learning lab for the library, which is a very, very exciting project. To get this grant, there were 105 applications submitted. They funded 12 nationwide. The request for funding, they were requested to provide $11 million, and $1 million was available. So right there, you have to be in the top 10% in order to get to even be a player. Our application wound up with 19 out of 20 possible points in the scoring. Of the 16 evaluation criteria, we got highly satisfactory in 14 of them. So it's extremely difficult to even get to the point where your application is even considered. And then a lot of exogenous variables come into play. For example, I think we did a couple of really terrific applications on behalf of the fire department, and we didn't get any of that. It was a big disappointment to me. However, when you look into it, you see that in the past 3 years we've received about $3 million in safer money for the fire department from FEMA. And they like to spread the money around, and having just provided them with 2 rounds of safer funds, each for about $1.5 million, we were going to be at the bottom, at the end of the list. And so it really didn't make any difference how good the application was. We probably weren't going to be funded because we'd just been funded. We've just gotten some big chunks of money from FEMA for the fire department. However, if you don't apply, you can't. If you don't play, you don't win. And I think part of the game is that you submit good applications, you get in their consciousness, and then the time comes around again, you're submitted again, and your chances go up the next time around. One of the things that was kind of challenging for me is that most professional grant writers will specialize in a functional area. For example, in my last job, I specialized in law enforcement. And I knew the people, I knew the priorities, I knew the budgets, I knew the legislators, I knew what the program was. In this particular job, I was going from fire prevention and safety to the farmers market, to homeless veterans, to this learning lab, the libraries. Basically, I was going from one functional area to another at pretty high speed and trying to get deeply involved in each of these things, which kind of broke my brain a little bit. But like I say, it's been fun. And we have a lot of grant applications coming up. I'm working on one for the GAR building right now. We've got another round of the Our Town application due in 14th of January. Fire prevention and safety is coming up again. The one that I applied for last summer was 2011 money. The 2012 money is becoming available. So I have a handout which summarizes what I've been up to, and I guess I'll take questions if you'd like.
Thank you. Councilor, I'm sorry, I'll go to Councilor Barton if you don't mind. Thank you. Councilor.
Mr. President, through the chair, Dawn, my suggestion would be next time you do a presentation to pass out the pamphlets so we could follow you. You know, because I think a lot of the guys, this is all new to all of us, and we're kind of in the dark, you know, so if we had something that we could have followed you while you were talking, it would help a lot.
The table on page 3 is the interesting part.
No, but I've been talking to the grant writer a lot, and so I know what, you know, he's been doing a lot of work. It doesn't look like he's got a lot of grants, but it's not because of lack of effort. So, you know, I think he's doing a good job, you know, for what he can do. I'm sure his hands are tied on a lot of things as far as grants you can apply for. I'm sure you can't apply for every grant without the city matching that, so
Well, there are issues with jurisdiction, there are issues with matching funds. I've tried to avoid situations that require a lot of matching funds, because matching funds are hard to come by. When possible, I try to use existing investments, expenditures that we're currently making as part of normal operations, and I try to package them as a match if that seems reasonable and appropriate.
thank you.
Thank you. Council Capano.
Yes, thanks for coming. I find this helpful. Just a couple questions. I have some familiarity with grants, and just some questions that I have. Like, I know that sometimes the funders look more favorably on a grant if there's partners with somebody else. So I don't know if we have the ability to do that, or if that's something we're doing. Also, if we have a system that identifies community needs, like how would a grant make it up to the office? You know, you had an idea we would call, or has there been some sort of system that identified needs in the city, and then we would look for the grants according to the priority of the needs of the community? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm trying to get whether the ability to partner with other groups, is something that we would do or consider doing or can do. And if we had some sort of system where certain needs have been identified and the possibility for grants has been matched to that.
The answer on partnership is absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that I look at is what kind of team is required by the funding agency to reassure them that their money is going to be well spent. In the Learning Labs application, I had the good fortune of making a lucky phone call. I called the head of education at Salem State and said, "Gee, would you guys like to participate with us on this thing?" And they said, "Absolutely, we'd love to." And they were fantastic. They were looking to get more deeply involved in Lynn. They spent hundreds of hours working on this application. And so the answer is absolutely yes, we partner. For example, one of these things here, I had this public health one. That was a community transformation grant application. We wound up submitting that in partnership with the 4 mass in motion cities, which is, I don't know, it's Lynn, Revere, Saugus, and one other. And actually the actual final editing and application was done by the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. They had submitted one of these grants in the past successfully. This one actually not successful. But I mean, the answer to your question about partnership is absolutely. Partnerships are incredibly valuable and make a stronger application. And my goal is to make the strongest application possible. As far as the question pertaining to, do we have a system in place to identify needs and then seek grants to meet those needs? The answer is not really. And the reason for that is that what I have focused on is pursuing the money that's available. It's very, very difficult to sort of identify a need and then find money. It's much easier, it's still very difficult, but easier to find the money and then identify the need, because the money is the critical variable. That is not completely true. In some of the economic development areas, you have a much broader range of things that you can get into. But I have not been deeply involved in economic development applications because Lynn already has a fairly significant infrastructure involved in applying for economic development grants. And so my services haven't been particularly needed. So,
Just to follow up, one example would be job training. There's a need for skills in the city. There's a community in need of skills, and there's a lot of companies that are in need of skilled workers. And the problem is trying to find trying to make that work, trying to connect those two things. And I didn't know if that would be something that the city could do, through the grant process.
the answer is yes. However, let me say again that, we have the Economic Development, EDIC, and we also have the Office of Economic and Community Development and the Lynn Housing and Neighborhood Development. So we have three sort of economic development operations taking place on an ongoing basis here in the city. If I saw an opportunity to get some money to do something like that, I would go to Jim Cadell and ask him if he would be interested in pursuing this. And if he said yes, I would do it. If he said no, or they'll take care of it themselves, that's what would happen.
Just one more.
As much as you want.
And so, that makes sense. But what about nonprofit agencies within the city that apply?
I was told very explicitly that my job is to get money from the city of Lynn and not to make applications on behalf of nonprofits.
Or as partners with
Yes, so I was told that, and yet I tried to find ways to partner when it was appropriate. For example, with the health department, we have done partnerships with various groups, both that community transformation grant that I mentioned, and we did another one on homeless youth, where we partnered with two nonprofits. If there's the critical variable is the city agency who has to want to agree, has to want to partner. Okay, my process is I will go to the head of the city agency and ask them if they'd like to pursue it. If the answer is yes, fine. If the answer is no, okay. So,
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Council Calucci.
Forgive my ignorance. From the time you submit the grant, how long is it until you get an answer?
3 to 6 months. For example, I submitted the fire, the 2 fire grants in the beginning of July, and it wasn't until the end of September that we heard yea or nay. I submitted the first NEH grant also in July, and have not heard back from that one yet. I submitted the library learning lab one in June, and I think we found out 2 weeks ago. So,
Councilor Net.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Arthur, for being here. I have one question. You said some other agency would refuse for you to help them to propose grant for them. So why is that? Why can't you just work with them? And do they have their own grant writers, or how does it happen? Because you hire to work for the city to get money for all of us.
it's a very tough question to answer. I don't really know. However, I haven't felt that I was in a position to question or challenge. If I hear no, the answer is no. I will go.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Lozey.
Mr. President, through the chair. Mr. Mr. Arthur, the city of Lynn has been the recipient of several $1 million in various park and recreation grants in the last 4 to 7 years. Have you applied for any of type of park or recreation grant for the city of Lynn?
That's a case where the Office of Economic and Community Development does that. And it wasn't, they got that infrastructure all set up. It's an ongoing program, and so I haven't done involved in that.
Traditionally, they have been doing it, but is it something that you could look into and research? There are so many various grants and out there, and that's why we hired you, is to get you to find these hopefully grants out there for the city.
I'd be happy to, quite frankly. I proposed in the past, in fact.
You've proposed.
I've suggested pursuing certain things, and they wound up being pursued by other agencies, which is fine. If the infrastructure is in place, I'm not here to be redundant. I'm here to apply for the things that we don't have an ongoing program seeking funds for. And the feedback that I received is that when it comes to parks and that kind of funding, we got a program already.
We do, where they apply for state and federal grants, but I know a lot of professional teams, owners, other organizations that are out there that will give cities grants to improve playgrounds, facilities, various youth recreational facilities. And I think that's an area we need to explore more in depth.
For example, yes, I agree. One of the things I looked into is I found some money for a skateboard park. There's this guy who's a professional skateboard guy, and he gives money away. It's great. He's built hundreds of skateboard parks around the country. However, the matching requirements were pretty onerous there. The maximum amount of funding available was $25,000, and the feedback was it was going to cost $150,000 to build a skateboard park, and the numbers didn't work, so we didn't pursue that. Many of these grants that you mentioned tend to be in the smaller dollar amount, and if there's been a bias on my part, I've looked at larger dollar opportunities. And there are perhaps things I could pursue from other sources.
Thank you, Councilman Boozy. Any other questions from the council? Councilman Cahill. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Arthur, I'm Dan Cahill. It's nice to meet you. We met very briefly once in Jamie Marsh's office, but I don't think you had a formal occasion to say hello.
Very good.
How are you liking the city of Lynn?
I love the city of Lynn. It's terrific.
And do you like your job?
I do.
And the people you work with?
Yes, I do.
Now, I know you commute from New York, so I know that's not easy. How's that going for you?
It's been brutal.
Now, you do that 3 or 4 times a week?
Oh, no. No, I'm here Sunday night through Thursday night.
My gosh. Wow, my hat's off to you. That's a tremendous commute. Councilor Barton worked with the mayor really hard to get your job funded. It's a new experience for all of us. This was the first time that I know of a specific grant writer in the city of Lynn since my tenure. There may have been before, so we're really excited about you being here and being able to provide some things for the city of Lynn and grants and whatnot. I didn't know you were from a whole. I do my research, and I just have one specific question for you. Not to get into specifics, but I've come across some information where there may be an occasion for you to go back to your former employer, or at least there was a statement made that you were considering that. Now, your contract expires in 2014. I think with this new position, we're very concerned about some inconsistencies.
What we want is a commitment that you're going to be here, you're going to work with the city of Lynn, that you can provide the services. But if you were to leave, that there would be some kind of transition. And I'm not saying you are, but I just did some rudimentary reading and stuff, whatnot. So I guess my question is your intent to be here?
My intent is to be here. There's absolutely no chance whatsoever, snowball's chance, of my going back to my previous employer.
That's good to hear. Thank you. That's the only question that's there.
Positively guaranteed.
Thank you, Councilor Net.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are you willing to work with other activists who might be able to help you to find various resources to get grant? Will you do that? I can introduce you to some people.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, good.
Absolutely.
I will help with you.
You know, one thing, if I may, one of the things that I find, one of the biggest opportunities that I've come across is, that I'm personally excited by, is the GAR building. I've submitted one application on behalf of the building, working on another right now. We have an excellent master plan for that building that was done in 2000. Really a very good plan. And it has been minimally implemented. And yeah, here's a book, which is the basic history of the Grand Army of the Republic. And the author of that book came here on my invitation, and from Southern California. And he stated in writing that our fellowship hall is the finest remaining site, the purest, truest, least messed up site for the Grand Army of the Republic in the United States of America. And at one point there were over 7,600 Grand Army of the Plaza posts. And right now we happen to have the finest remaining post. And I've worked, the mayor, as you know, appointed me to the board, and I've worked with Karen Alianic and the other board members, and we see an opportunity to transform the GAR Museum into a national museum of the Grand Army of the Republic. And I think there's a fairly significant opportunity to create a small but important and nationally recognized site here in Lynn. And I mean, the response, especially from the scholarship world, the historians, has been, oh, absolutely, this is something you've got to do. I mean, I talk to these guys, and they sort of bounce up and down and bend over backwards and say, what can we do to help? And so I think we have a pretty good opportunity. That's something that I'm hoping to work more on in the coming months. I just wanted to let you.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Net.
I'm sure you have all our sources with there are people receive that have any additional information, so then I will talk with you about it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, it is.
Any further questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Arthur. Any other new business? Councilor Capano?
On back, we were going to have National Grid come here and give us an update or talk to them. What happened? We're going to have them come.
Excuse me. I'm going to ensure that they're here at the next meeting, Councilor Capano, if that's okay. Any other new business? So this is no other new business.